I had our son for 5 years without his father being involved. So it was just crazy that suddenly he's involved and someone else is calling themselves mother and making my son call me by my first names.
In the interest of Giuliano Giardina on the state's motion for clarification. Court takes judicial notice of the entire court file, including specifically the March 22nd, 2023 order that Judge McMaster signed. If the parties will raise their right hands to be sworn in, whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Thomas, what is the state requesting today?
The state is requesting that we clarify the child support judgments, Your Honor. A judgment was taken for $3,500 and it used a interest rate of 5%. The state is wanting to clarify that to use an interest rate of 6%. It also said a payment plan of $150 monthly to begin on the first of the month. The state is asking that the start date for the payment plan to begin August 1st, 2022. That is the start date that child support and medical support started as well.
Anything further, ma'am?
Nothing. Oh, and then we do need to address whether there should be a non-disclosure of the party's information. And that's all from the state.
Mr. Moore, what is Mr. Palacios requesting?
Mr. Palacios is requesting the non-disclosure order. He has no objection to the mother having his telephone number, and he has no objection to the mother obtaining his email address.
Anything else, sir?
He is requesting clarification with regard to the due date for the attorney fees that were ordered in the court's order, and if the court believes it's appropriate to do so at the conclusion of this hearing, we would like to see this case transferred to the county in which the father lives.
Does he live in Texas?
Yes.
Which county?
Which county are you in, Mr. Palacios?
That would be Hidalgo County, Judge.
Hidalgo?
Correct.
All right. Anything else, Mr. Moore?
And I'd also say that that's where the child has been residing for well over a year now.
All right. Anything else?
No.
Ms. Giardina, what are you requesting today?
I don't agree with the disclosure. I don't agree with the for the to a different county. I don't agree with that, and I don't agree with the 1% change just because it was entered wrong, and I just want to basically push back on that if I can. I did pay accordingly, and I am completely caught up and doing so. Oh, and paying his attorney fees. I was not at the court or the last final hearing, but I was on the phone with Mr. Moore the day right before the meeting was set, asking him which day, because I received 2 dates for the final hearing. And being on the phone, he said he would email me the correct date, and I never got that email. So I know this is a long time coming, but I didn't have an attorney representing me at the time. And I got this court order and all these things, and I've been paying accordingly.
All right, ma'am. So you're not willing to discuss the attorney fee issue or the transfer today?
We can discuss it, but I'm not willing to, if there's any pushback I can give, I'm going to do that.
There's no pleadings on file for either one of those issues. The only thing that is on file is the clarification of the interest and the payment plan for the start date. It's the only thing that's before the court today. If we agree to talk about it, you're letting me decide whether or not it should be transferred based on the law, as well as a payment plan on the attorney's fees. So you need to tell me if you're okay with me hearing those issues, because I'm going to I would rule appropriately based on what the law tells me I'm required to do.
Okay.
You are entitled to have notice of those things, and you do not have notice of those things. So if you don't want to address them, we will not address them.
If we have another hearing, do I need to have an attorney present to represent me? I just don't know. I had asked on the phone whether I should bring an attorney, and it was very unclear.
That was your decision, ma'am. But I plan on finalizing the state's pleadings today If another hearing would be needed to address the transfer of the clerk or the attorney's fees, that would be another court day, but nothing's been filed for those issues as of today.
Okay.
So
The issues, nothing has been filed for which issues? The ones that I'm
the attorney's fees or the transfer.
okay.
Do you want to address those today, or do you want to wait until proper pleadings and notice have been given to you?
I don't know. To be honest, I have no representation.
Okay, then we will not address those two issues today. The only thing we'll address is the interest and the non-disclosure. And you're opposed to both of those, correct?
Yes.
Are you okay with your contact information being disclosed?
Yes.
All right. Then I will let Ms. Thomas call her first witness regarding those two issues, and we'll go from there.
The state would like to call Mr. Palacios.
You may proceed.
Mr. Palacios, the order that was signed by the court in 2023, March 22nd, 2023, do you recall a judgment being included in that order?
A judgment for which particular issue?
A judgment for past due child support.
Yes, that is correct.
Are you okay with the interest rate on that to be corrected to 6%, the legal interest rate for arrears on child support?
I am okay with that, yes.
In that order, there was also a payment plan of $150 monthly. Does that sound about right?
I do believe so. There was multiple things that were discussed, the medical, the child support, and then the issue of the interest rate.
Are you in agreement to begin the $150 payback for the behind child support of the $3,500 to begin on August 1st, 2022, along with the other start dates for current support and medical support?
Yes, that's fine.
Do you have concerns with Ms. Giardina having your physical address?
Absolutely.
What are your concerns?
There has been a variety of threats that have been placed upon myself, my family's place of business, our home, and we fear that those threats are not empty. So we would like to not disclose that information if possible.
When was the last time you received a threat?
Oh man, the last time that we received the threat was there was a few instances. The ones that come to mind are when there was a scheduled access where she was supposed to have, Courtney was supposed to have access to Giuliano. She physically attacked my partner.
Ma'am, I need you to be in your video at all times.
Yes.
I am. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, she physically attacked my partner. She also made disparaging remarks towards myself, my partner, and towards Giuliano as well. Giuliano does not feel safe. We have evidence to show it as well. So for those reasons, I would not like to disclose any address information.
When did those attacks take place?
Oh, I believe it was September 5th. If it was 2021 or 22, I can't recall at the moment, but I can double check if allowed.
In the order that was signed in 2023, your information was disclosed in that order. What has changed since that order being signed and today that would make you not want your personal information in the order?
Yeah, my address has changed. So if my address would be given, I fear that there would be a follow through with the threats that have already been made.
Can you tell the court what type of threats were made?
Sure, that there would be physical harm coming to me, my family, my significant other. Giuliano himself does not feel safe. There has been instances where Courtney herself has shown up unannounced, unscheduled to our residence and has been trespassed from the property. So they're not just empty threats in our opinion, that she will follow through and commit something that we would like to prevent.
The address that was in that previous order, did you move because of the threats?
In large part, yes.
And since you have moved, you haven't had any physical pop-ups at your residence?
For Courtney, no.
No further questions for this witness, Your Honor.
Mr. Moore, do you have any questions for Mr. Palacios?
Yes, just a few. Mr. Palacios, would you describe Ms. Giardina's relationship with you as being hostile in the last few years?
Absolutely hostile.
Was there at least one instance in which a person with whom she was in a dating relationship physically assaulted you?
That is correct.
And the fact that since your move, you haven't had any physical assaults by her, is that the result of the fact that she doesn't know where you live?
I would believe so.
Okay. But you have told the court that you're okay with her, with the mother having your phone number. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And you're also okay with or comfortable with the mother having your email address. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And is that because providing that information enables her to be able to communicate with you, but does not expose you to a physical threat?
Correct.
No further questions.
Ms. Giardina, do you have any questions for Mr. Palacios regarding that issue?
Yes.
Questions or responses?
Questions.
Great, go ahead.
Can you describe the time that I showed up to your house? How it was threatening?
Yeah, absolutely. It was threatening me because it was unannounced, unscheduled, and unforeseen. Giuliano's direct response to your appearance at our residence was fear. He described it directly to police officers in a report as well.
Can you tell me why the police officers showed up?
Yes, they showed up because we called them to show up.
So no one else called the police?
I believe, I can't speak to that. I'm not sure.
So you weren't aware whether it was a wellness check from a failed court-ordered appearance?
I don't believe that was their initial,
Was it on the day? What day was it?
I can't recall the date at this point, but I can provide it to the court.
Okay, because
Ma'am, you can't
I realize I can't ask questions. Okay,
questions, but you'll get a chance to respond in a few minutes.
okay. And can you describe what happened when I assaulted, or I guess whenever you say I attacked your partner, was she physically harmed?
Physically and emotionally, I would say, for all
How was
parties.
she physically harmed?
Because she was physically engaged forcefully.
How was she forcefully physically engaged?
Um, I'm not sure how to answer it more than I have.
Was there a police report filed on this?
Absolutely.
And what's in the police report saying that I attacked her? So you can't provide any physical description.
I apologize. I don't think I understand the question.
You
What
can't-
happened, sir? What happened during the physical attack? How did that happen? Tell the court the details of that situation.
Sure. So for context, there was supposed to be scheduled access for Giuliano. When we met up, Giuliano was forcibly removed from my possession. I was carrying him in my arms, and Courtney grabbed him from my arms and made a remark to the effect of, "You're under my control now," or "You're on my rules now," something to that effect. She gifted Giuliano a shirt, which Giuliano was very excited to show both myself and my partner, and he has to be changed into the shirt he was gifted. So we removed ourselves to go to the bathroom and change him, which my partner stayed out there by the door of the men's room. And while I was changing Giuliano, I heard an altercation. When I stepped out, I saw her physically holding and pushing my partner into a wall, into a corner.
I recorded the conversation. I'm sorry.
Let him finish the answer. You do not have
Right.
to respond quite yet. Go ahead, sir.
I appreciate that. Upon witnessing what was happening, I got in between her and my partner. And at that point, staff got involved from the event we were at. It was the main event place for Giuliano. And once I got involved, once staff got involved, they ended up calling police and a report was made.
Your next question, ma'am.
So she was physically harmed. Are you saying that I made contact? Are you saying that I physically pushed or touched your partner?
Correct.
How so?
Physically, with your hands, you forcefully pushed her and backed her up into a wall.
I forcefully pushed her.
Objection asked and answered.
So,
Okay.
ma'am, he's already answered the question. Move along, please.
Okay. I guess my next question would be, when was the last time you've allowed contact with my son and I?
Objection, Your
Our
Honor.
son and I.
Ma'am, that issue is not before the court today, sustained.
Okay.
The only thing is whether or not he should be entitled to a
Oh,
non-disclosure
okay.
finding and whether or not the interest rate should change.
Okay.
You have any other questions, ma'am?
I guess no, I don't.
Ms. Thomas?
No further questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Moore?
No further questions.
Mr. Palacios, did all of those incidents occur before the July 22 hearing, or did anything happen after that?
I apologize, Judge. I can't recall accurately the timeline. I want to say since the final order that Judge McMaster gave, there has not been any incidents as far as physical altercations or threats. I believe that that is the case.
So everything happened prior to the July 22nd, July
I do,
2022 order hearing.
I
Is
do
that-
believe so, Judge. Yes.
Okay. All right. Ms. Thomas, you may call your next witness.
This state would like to call Ms. Giardina.
You may proceed.
Ms. Giardina, there was a judgment taken in the final order that was signed in 2023 of $3,500. And it listed a 5% interest rate. The legal interest rate is 6%. Do you agree with the change from 5 to 6%?
No,
Why?
because I paid accordingly to what I was supposed to pay.
They also set a payment plan to pay back the $3,500 at $150
I'm sorry,
monthly.
I realized that I didn't fully explain myself. Could I go back and explain myself further?
You just have to answer the question being asked. You'll get a
Right.
chance. It's your turn.
I just wanted to like add to the answer.
No, you don't get that chance. You just have to answer the question being asked.
Okay. Oh, I see. Just yes or no. Got it.
Ms. Thomas, go ahead with your $150 question.
Yes, there was also a payment plan to pay back that amount at $150 per month beginning on the first of the month. To clarify a specific date, all the other amounts for child support, medical support began on August 1st, 2022. Would you be agreeable to start the $150 payment plan on August 1st, 2022?
What is the question?
Would you be agreeable to start the $150 payment plan on August 1st, 2022?
No,
Why?
because I've already paid everything I needed to pay according to what was entered in the system. And also, shouldn't have ever had any arrears because I did pay and all the payments were returned back to me. And there was a whole hearing about it when I did have an attorney, and our attorneys were supposed to start exchanging the payments. But I did pay, and there was also a temporary orders, so I couldn't pay online. So I should have never had any arrears to begin with. And the fact that I did pay accordingly, I feel like I've done my part.
Okay. Do you have any concerns with your personal information being in the order, telephone number, physical address, or email address? Mr. Palacios is requesting a non-disclosure of his physical address. Do you have any opposition to his physical address not being included in the order?
I do.
What are your concerns?
My son lives there, and me not knowing where my son lives concerns me.
Have you ever caused Mr. Palacios harm or harassment when you've had his personal physical address?
I went with cops to do a wellness check. I was in town because of a scheduled court exchange, or my son and I was supposed to see a visitation. I didn't, and he didn't show up to the visitation. So I sent a wellness check, and I showed up before the cops because I was already like on my way, but I did not go in a harassing manner. And I just knocked on the door and I stepped back to the sidewalk. and I just waited for the cops to go and do their wellness check.
When did that take place?
That I don't know the date. I could find it. It would take a while, but it was the last time I did my visitation.
Was that, do you recall if it was after July 27th, 2022 or before?
It was definitely 2022, I believe, was the last time. I haven't had visitation in a long time.
Do you recall like a month in 2022?
It's the day that Miguel was referring to,
Okay.
when I had showed up or something.
Is there anything else you would like to respond to?
I don't, even Judge McMaster had even acknowledged and kind of laughed, not laughed, but he kind of said in court that he doesn't believe that I'm going to make any threats, and I don't intend, or I don't intend, I will not make any threats or be violent or any of those things or show up unannounced to his address. I just want to know where my son is at.
No further questions for this witness, Your Honor.
Ma'am, do you have anything else that you want to respond to? Anything you haven't been asked about on those two issues?
Yes, I did not physically touch his, I did approach her. There was an issue where my son was calling her mother, calling her his mom, and calling me by my first name. And I went up to her while they were in the restroom, and I took that opportunity to confront her. I realize now that I shouldn't have even engaged, because they obviously, I feel like I kind of fell into like some sort of trap to get emotional. But I did not physically touch her and push her or any of those things. When I approached her, I said, "What? Like, who are you? I don't know your name. Please, like, tell me who you are." And she refused to tell me her name. And then she pulled out her phone and started to record me. And I said, "Who are you? Who are you?" You know, those type of back and forth questions. And I said, "Why do you feel like you can call yourself mom?" Like this was just crazy to me. Being that I had our son for 5 years without his father being involved. So it was just crazy that suddenly he's involved, and someone else is calling themselves mother and making my son call me by my first name. So it was very triggering. And when I approached her, she ran, like, I guess when she stopped recording the phone, she made a remark saying, like, "I am his mother." And I was already walking away at that point. So when I just turned back around and I said, "What?" And she ran into the restroom. And then Miguel came out, and he actually bumped into me, trying to push me back from her, which I didn't make a report on that. And the cops were called because basically I told one of the staff members to call the cops because they were leaving with my son, or with our son. So I didn't want them to leave. And that was the physical altercation, but it wasn't a physical altercation. It was a verbal confrontation.
Anything else, ma'am?
If I may say in front of the court, I don't have any ties with my ex who physically assaulted Miguel. I have completely distanced myself. And that's it.
All right, ma'am, was that during the temporary orders when you had visitation? Is that
I believe so. I couldn't say for certain if that's what they were.
Mr. Moore, do you have any questions for mom at this time?
Yes, I want to clarify something. The visit at the main event that Mr. Palacios described, did that visit take place after the incident where you say you called the police to Mr. Palacios' residence for the wellness check?
That was our very first visitation. And then the wellness check I did was the last visitation that I had. That didn't take place.
Okay, so you're saying the the alleged assault at main event happened before the situation in which you went to Mr. Palacios' house.
Yes.
Okay.
And I waited for the police. I went and knocked on the door, but I did wait. I had already called the cops to let them know that, hey, I have a scheduled meeting. He's not here. I'm at his place. They're here. And they told me to wait on the sidewalk, so I did.
And then after the wellness check issue is when the final order was entered by the judge?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure I understood that timeline. So you would agree that whatever took place at main event, whatever your actions were, they caused the mother to, in your word, I'm sorry, they caused Mr. Palacios's partner to, in your words, run.
She just backed up. It wasn't a real run. She just backed up because I pivoted and I said, what? And I guess she got afraid. She became afraid because she said something, but I didn't come after her. I just turned around.
So, and again, I'm just going by your description. You, whatever it was that you said or did, whatever actions you took, caused you to perceive that she became afraid. Is that what I just heard you say?
I think she was afraid of what she had just said.
So you perceived that she was afraid.
She was afraid of her own self. I didn't scare her. I think she was afraid because I think Miguel had put it in her head prior that I'm some crazy, violent person. And I think she was just afraid from what she had heard and what she had just said. But I did not push her and I didn't do anything.
So then it's fair to say that you perceived that she was afraid, but you would dispute that she was afraid of you.
I think her previous knowledge that she had of me made her afraid.
Okay.
I didn't do anything that actually scared her.
Okay. No further question.
Ms. Thomas, do you have any follow-up questions?
No follow-up questions, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Giardina, do you have anything else that you want to tell the court today?
No.
Mr. Palacios, has there been any visits with the mother and the child since the July 2022 order or hearing where the court ordered no visitation other than electronic?
No, Your Honor.
All right, closing arguments. Mr. Moore, do you have any closing argument?
Yes, just briefly. We've established the timeline here as being this event at main event where the parties were supposed to do an exchange, and they clearly were not able to do that. One of the things that it sounds like the mother has said here is that whatever it was that she said to Mr. Palacios' partner, the result of the interaction was that the partner felt some sense of fear. Now, we've heard the mother say that the mother was about to leave. She turned around, and her previous testimony, she kind of attempted to walk it back under further questioning when she realized the impact of it. But her previous testimony was that that it caused the person to run. That suggests that there was some kind of altercation, some kind of interaction. Now, it sounds like there's a dispute over whether Ms. Giardina touched this person, but it doesn't sound like there was a dispute about whether words were exchanged by the mother, and that the mother was upset about things, and it impacted the way in which the mother communicated and caused these things that the mother is describing as ran, and then something less than ran, and then describing as fear, but it wasn't really fear of me, it was fear of herself, which is a kind of odd way to describe it, but that's the way that she said it. So then you've got this other instance where you have the wellness check. This is another situation in which these parties are in the same environment. And when they're in the same environment, drama ensues, apparently, and police get called. Understandably, that would make a person a little uneasy about providing their latest their latest address. And so somebody might look at this and say, well, there hasn't been a problem since the order was put in place, and those things you described took place before the order. And sure, in terms of the timeline, that's accurate, but it's also the case that things haven't, there has not been a problem because the mother doesn't know where the father lives. We see that when the mother has an opportunity to get in the same space as the father, we have issues. And so, being able to provide the means for electronic communication still provides the mother the opportunity to be able to have access to the or access to the father when needed, and access to the child under the terms that have been set forth in the court order. And if the mother wants to change the court order, then she's certainly within her means to be able to take the steps necessary to attempt to change that order. And so until such time as the mother takes that step, it seems appropriate that the only disclosure that should be required of the father is that he provide his phone number and his email address. Thank you.
Ma'am, do you have any closing arguments you want to make on the two issues?
Yes.
And this isn't new information. This is just arguing why I should do it based on what we've already talked about.
Yes, I just wanted to, my argument would be that the initial altercation or drama with his partner and I, that happened. That was the very first visitation. After that, the judge took her out of the equation after, because you made a statement, Mr. Moore, saying that every time we're in the same environment that there's cops and everything. When the visitations went smoothly, everything was fine. Miguel and I met, we exchanged our son, we barely spoke, and then we went on to our visitation, did our exchange. So you saying that every time we're in the same environment, no. After it was addressed in court and she was removed from the situation, everything was fine again. It wasn't until the second altercation that you're saying with the cops coming, that was, I had let the cops know, so I don't know how that's drama, because he was refusing to show up to visitation, a court ordered visitation. So I don't, that's all I wanted to say, or argue that it's not just drama. And his partner was removed from the situation.
All right. Well, my only job is to clarify the issues on the interest and the payment plan start date, and then determine whether or not a non-disclosure should be granted. The interest, the paragraph regarding the arrearage payment specifically says a judgment is granted against mom and in favor of dad in the amount of $3,500 with interest, as provided by the law of the state of Texas at 5% per annum. The law has never been 5%. The law was 10%, then 12%, and then went to 6%. So that is clarified to 6%. The judgment is as it is, ma'am. I'm not changing anything in the prior order. I'm just clarifying that the interest rate has always been 6% since your child has been alive, way before your child has been alive. So that is the interest rate that the judgment should accrue. The $150 each on the first day of each month, the case law is very specific that if a date is not mentioned, it's the first date after the order was signed. So technically you are looking at April 1st of 2023. So that is the order on that. Now, of course, if you made the payments back then, you should have it taken care of other than the interest change. But we can't bet, it's not adding anything to your balance to go back to. As far as the non-disclosure is concerned, all of these events are problematic because it's very clear that you guys need to communicate through electronic means and not see each other. However, the order does require dad to disclose his contact information, and provide updated information if anything changes. So technically, you should have updated your contact information when you move, sir. Nothing has happened since the July 22 hearing, so the court's not changing anything on that. So you're still under the orders pursuant to Judge McMaster's ruling. That issue should have been addressed then, for potential future moves. And so that is the ruling of the court. Anyone that's not happy with the ruling of the court has 3 days to ask for a new hearing in front of Judge McMaster. It's called a de novo hearing. And that can be found at the texaslawhelp.org website. It's a de novo hearing. You have to specify what you're disagreeing with, and you have to do so in writing to the clerk's office within 3 days of today's date, stating what you disagree with, sending it to the other parties, as well as obtaining a hearing date from Judge McMaster's court administrator, providing that notice to them. But that is the ruling of the court. Ms. Thomas, do you have any questions?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Moore?
No, Judge.
Mr. Palacios, if you have any questions, you can speak to Mr. Moore, and I'll grant you some allowance to go into a breakout room with him afterwards, or you can talk to him on the phone, either or. Ms. Giardina, do you have any questions?
No.
All right, then that will conclude this hearing. Ms. Thomas will prepare it and send it to you all via DocuSign. I will sign it today with or without your signatures, as long as she provides me proof that she's sent it to you in the next 30 to 45 minutes.